viral. Love this one. Bears took down the Packers 24-17. That's not the part I love. Yesterday, they clinched their first NFC North title since 2010. How did offensive tackle Charles Leno Jr. celebrate? This is what I loved, by proposing to his girlfriend on Soldier Field. Oh, yes. Spoiler alert. She said, "Mais oui, ma chérie. Yes, I will marry you."
Typically, stadium proposals are the lamest things in the world. But that's
not when
fans do
when you're on the team.
Not when you're on the team. When you're on the team, that's a pretty cool thing. Good for him. You see the guys to his right doing a little prayer circle. He acted like he was going over there for that. Did a little marriage proposal. I like that.
That's nice.
Okay. What?
I'm pretty certain his career is not going to end there. With the Bears, he's going to have on another uniform. And if I'm proposing, I prefer a hot shower and everything. Right there, he's smelling like a baby bull. Okay?
Smell like a baby bull.
Yes, he smells like
She's got a story to tell.
No, he's got something coming from him too. Smells like a skunk in his back pocket.
Wow. Okay. Anyway,
I mean, it's after a football game, can't
That's true. Little musty.
Thank you.
He's just the Grinch, man.
Get under some hot water.
Sucked all the good out of that. Pats Steelers. Let's pick this up with 12 minutes left in the second quarter. Big Ben hits the always reliable Antonio Brown for the touchdown. AB finished 4 catches for 49 yards. On to the fourth quarter now. Patriots trailing 14-10 in the red zone. Brady is picked off by Joe Hayden. It's a bad mistake by Brady. He knew it right away. Pittsburgh would make a field goal to go up 7 points. 20 ticks left in the game. 4th and 15. Brady. For Julian Edelman, they do not connect, and Pittsburgh escapes with a 17-10 win. Pats fall to the 3 seed. The Steelers keep control of the AFC North. Lot to take in and digest here, Chris Caney. For you, though, what was the key to the Steelers pulling off the win, beating the Patriots?
Well, here's the thing. I'm a little bit surprised by the outcome of yesterday's game, but I really shouldn't be. And to Nick's credit, I mean, you've been saying it all year. The Pats are a different team when they got to go on the road. They just have struggled this year. And, I mean, this is the first time that Bill Belichick has had back-to-back losses in December since 2002. I mean, the Patriots are usually playing better at this time of year, not worse.
They ramp it up.
Exactly. And so seeing them struggle the way that they did in Heinz Field, that was surprising to me. But, I mean, when they can't play well in situational football, this team is not going to be able to perform. I mean, from a talent standpoint, offensively, Tom Brady has all the weapons that he would need. But you saw the Steelers defensively. They had a plan for Rob Gronkowski.
I don't know about the weapons, bro. I mean, they've had 33 receivers come into and try out for the Patriots since the spring. All right? Without Brandon Cook. They don't have no go-to guy. Who's their #1 guy right now?
Gronkowski is their go-to guy, but they spent yesterday.
Okay, with something that used to be a Rolls Royce, now it's performing like a Chevy.
It is performing like a Chevy, but the Steelers did have him in double coverage a lot of that game.
Okay,
I mean,
so what about
Edelman? With a linebacker, and they topped him with a safety. But Edelman should have showed up more, and I thought Josh Gordon should have showed up more, and those two guys were ghosts. And so there's no excuse for them not being able to execute better in the passing game. So I looked at them in the red zone. They were 0 for 3, and then on third downs, they were 3 for 10. We don't typically see Tom Brady-led offenses perform that poorly, especially at this time of the year. So that's why I'm a little bit surprised.
But listen, I am very surprised. Even though I have been sounding the alarm bells on the Pats on the road all year, I thought this was a game they were not going to lose. The Steelers were coming off their worst stretch of football in 4 years. Like, as far as falling apart the way they were headed into this game, the Pats have owned them. And even late in the game, I was like, okay, so the Patriots are just going to find a new way to rip out the Steelers' heart.
And on top of all of that, the game that the Patriots were coming off of last week, the way they lost to the Dolphins, there's no way they were going to do anything but come out on fire.
Which is a great point. So even when they didn't come out on fire, I was like, okay, they're going to find a way to win the game. But where I want to give the Steelers credit is, there were guys guarding those receivers. There were guys forcing those holding penalties. Stephon Tuitt had an outstanding game. The crowd helped a lot, obviously. You could hear it. There was a lot of the pre-snap stuff was that. But the holding penalties were, a lot of them were forced holds because the Patriots O-linemen were getting whooped by the Steelers D-linemen. The Steelers defense had a total busted coverage on the one play. Chris Hogan play where he was running as open, literally.
Yeah, it wasn't a busted coverage. The guys ran into each other. They were in man-to-man. They ran a rub. They were crossing each other, and the two defenders ran into each other and ended up on the ground. So he ended up vacating the spot.
I think that on that one, there was 3 guys ran with the other player. I thought where they ran into each other was a different play. If I'm misremembering,
the touchdown they ran into each other. That's how he ended up open.
Okay, so whether it was a bust or whatever it was one terrible defensive play. And aside from that, I thought the Steelers defense played almost a perfect football game. Edelman got open deep once in the 4th quarter drive with 2 minutes left. But they played as well as you can play against this Pats defense, this Pats offense. You're right, C. They don't have a ton of weapons, and Gronk is a shell of himself. But despite not having a lot of weapons, what they just put up on Miami, 33. They've been finding a way to manufacture offense. They couldn't in a game that was a must-win for Pittsburgh. They came through against a team that has owned them this half-decade.
Offensively, they have one thing they can go to. That's Sony Michel. He's been their most valuable offensive player. And when he gets 100 yards, that's when they have the type of mix that they want. Gronk can't run anymore. Gronk doesn't have little short area quickness. Where you used to see him run some routes and then he would separate. You don't see that. Typically, when Gronk is throwing the ball now, you see someone right next to him. So he's not able to get down the field. When you don't have Brandon Cooks there anymore to be able to threaten the defense. Edelman, he's not a feature guy. You could see last night when they tried to concentrate on him, very little separation, and he don't have the wheels to be able to go down the field. Josh Gordon, inconsistent, big 3rd down drop earlier in the game. So Brady doesn't necessarily have the confidence that he would have in throwing him the football. I thought the biggest difference was the penalties. They weren't buttoned up. The players were reacting a half step slow. And Pittsburgh's defense was not playing the typical 2-gap, read and react. Man, they were hitting the gap, 1 gap, getting into the backfield on 1st and 2nd down. And to me, that's the reason why you had a lot of clutching and grabbing. Their overall defense being aggressive from the beginning, I thought was one of the huge differences in the game.
No, you're absolutely right, CC. The defensive front was able to not only disrupt Tom Brady in that passing game, but disrupt the running game and get them off schedule. But one of the things that surprised me about Brady in this game is typically Tom Brady is able to manipulate the pocket. He's one of the best in the NFL in terms of movement within the pocket. But it was clear that Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line, they made him uncomfortable. Getting that interior pressure with Hargrave into it, that makes a difference. And so Tom Brady, he spent a lot of time throwing off of his back foot. And what does that lead to? Turnovers. And so that's in part why that offense struggled yesterday. Tom Brady usually is able to bail them out. When he has time to step up, he can be able to find those windows to get guys the ball, throw guys open. He wasn't able to do that yesterday.
You could easily say there's a good part of this Patriots team that beat themselves with the penalties, with missed opportunities. But the Steelers played a pretty good team, especially defensively, Nick.
Well, defensively, they were great. Jalen Samuels, he told Peter King last night, Peter King asked, when was the last time you had 100 yards rushing? He said, never. Not even in high school. Never had 19 carries in a game, even in high school. So he played a game no one could have anticipated, and they overcame some bad Big Ben mistakes. They overcame what I thought was, I thought their kicker had lost it. Like when Boswell, after coming off a bad week, missed a chip shot early, I thought he was done. Credit to Mike Tomlin. I wouldn't have done it. Where late in the game, I would have punted that ball away. Said, Brady, you got no timeouts. We're up 4. I'm not risking Boswell missing this and giving you a short field to beat us. I'm going to make you go the length of the field. Tomlin trusted the kicker they gave the extension to this offseason. He nails that 50-yarder, which maybe turned his mentality around. And credit Mike Tomlin. He's been the coach there 12 years. They've now, once again, guaranteed to not have a losing season. Becomes one of only 5 coaches in NFL history to start off their coaching career with at least 12 consecutive seasons at 500 or above, which makes the Mike Tomlin hot seat stuff all the more ludicrous. But this was a game they had to have. Even with the win, what are they up? A half game on Baltimore? Like, this didn't put them in the playoffs, but they could have essentially been knocked out of the playoffs with a loss this week against New England. This gives them a renewed hope for the final 2 weeks of the year. From a scheme standpoint,
I thought the abbreviated toss sweep that they were running, New England typically, they're a read and react defense, but they traditionally will not let you get around the edge. They pride themselves on you can't get outside. They ran this soft toss where they were acting as if they were trying to get around the edge. They got the defense flowing, and he was cutting it back through the middle and hitting the backside. I thought from a strategy standpoint, that was one of the best wrinkles I saw in week number 15 NFL. It's hard to come up with something. I haven't seen it. Don't see any other teams doing it. That wrinkle by the Pittsburgh Steelers in saying our offensive line is going to be more physical, I thought that was one of the huge differences in seeing these Pittsburgh Steelers hold off those New England Patriots late. Big win by the Steelers.
Are we worried about the Patriots now?
Of course. Yeah, we have to be. I mean
we
right now they're going to play. Right now they're going to play on Wild Card Weekend, but then after that, guess what? They got to go on the road, and they're not good on the road.
Under 500.
So last time they played on Wild Card Weekend was 2009. I mean, it's been a decade into having at least 12 wins and a bye every year. We know they're not getting to 12 wins this year. Right now, they're not on pace for a bye either.
What grade were you in?
What grade? In 2009? Come on, Jenna.
Got to take a break. Chris, thank you so much for joining.